our ground. We are 5 miles from an ethanol plant, and it was way. And we wanted to do something better for our ground. So what we're doing now is we're getting 3 crops off 2 years with this system. So we're planting corn, and then we're no-tilling our wheat into our corn stalks, followed by interplanting soybeans. So, plus we're trying to do this all no-till. So we first started, we were using tillage, and from then we've moved into no-tilling all of it for the whole system. So, but plus, like I say, we're building soil health between the no-tilling and all the diverse crop rotation. We're seeing our soil types change. We're getting our soils active with biology. Just it's a whole system that really is working and turning our ground around. Right there is kind of how we're doing it. We're planting twin row 30-inch wheat. So we got 2 rows, 8 inches, 7.5 to 8 inches apart on 30-inch centers. So then we're planting 30-inch soybeans in between it. We have a lot of people ask, why just single row 30-inch soybeans? You could do it with twin row soybeans, but we found that, I don't know if we say we found, what works is we're trying to do this all without ruining any of the crop. So with 30-inch beans, we're able to harvest the wheat without not running any of the beans over, except for on the headlands where we turn. So I put some planting dates up there, and this is what works for our system. I ain't saying this is set in stone, or everybody's situation is going to be a little different if they want to try it. But like I say, we're trying to plant the wheat, September 25th through late October, depending on weather. So then our soybeans, we're starting April 25th, right in there, depending on conditions. So here's a little video of how we're planting our wheat. So if you've seen that on the front of it, we made a separate toolbar to help disperse residue. We are no-tilling this wheat within hours to a day or a couple days after we combine corn. So there's a lot of residue. In that picture that was 245 bushel corn. So there's a lot of residue there to move. So we made that front toolbar with basically an extra set of row cleaners to try and help split that. Plus we've got row cleaners on the planter. So that is a 1790 John Deere planter that has been converted to twin rows. So so far that's been kind of our best system for planting wheat. So there's a picture of that wheat. That was the exact same place where that video was taken 11 days after that. So you can see it's working very well. To get a stand of wheat in that amount of residue was quite an accomplishment for us. So our seeding rate is generally 125 pounds an acre. We're shooting for 1.2 to 1.4 million seeds per acre. So, and we are running a little in-row fertilizer just to help kind of get it going. So there's some of our, quite a few pictures of kind of all of our applications for nutrients. Whether it be in nitrogen, we do spread the poultry litter on it. We're variable rating some potash. Then we're using 1 pass of nitrogen with stream bars on a Hagee, just to kind of get it perked up, get some tillering going. And then we come back and side dress some nitrogen later. So we are planting some soybeans. That's actually our second planter. It seems like we learn something every year. So in that picture, we're no-tilling them soybeans in all that trash that we moved when we planted that wheat. So we're planting them row of beans right down them rows of old corn stalks. So there's a lot of trash to move, but yet, you know, our soil's eating it. You know, it's turning it back into, you know, nutrients for our beans. So, like I say, there's a planting date there. It depends on the year, you know. We've kind of found the sooner the better. The quicker we can get planting beans, the better. It's just an old 900 International planter, nothing fancy. So just a set of row cleaners on it. So we are side dressing our nitrogen when we do plant the beans. So I don't know if you can see it there, but we are dribbling 28 or 32%, I should say, in between them rows of wheat. So we're trying to feed that wheat a couple times during the year. So that planter's got quite a bit of modifications. You can kind of see in that picture it's offset from the tractor. So we've kind of got everything on 30-foot swaths now. So we're trying to match more equipment. It's just kind of made it a lot easier. When we first started, we had multiple widths of equipment, and it kind of made it a challenge in our rolling terrain. So just trying to get everything, even with guidance, it just wasn't as good as we wanted it. So that planter, we've moved the hitch, and then the lift assist wheels on the back we've offset too, just so we ain't running nothing over. All these passes we make, we try to not run over any crop. So right there you can see our tubes that we're dribbling nitrogen with. It's nothing fancy, but it works. So we're kind of, as Lauren Steiglage would say, the KISS method. We try to keep it simple. So as far as management, weed management and stuff, we are making one herbicide pass. I think as we go into this longer, I think our weed pressure seems to be going down. You know, we're using less, and I could say maybe at some point we might not use any. You know, but right now we're just using just like a little 240 or something, just take a little broadleaf out. So fungicide is kind of starting to play a key role in ours with the fusarium and everything, trying to plant into these corn stalks. So we're making multiple fungicide applications. So, and harvesting the wheat. Right now we are using a Claas Lexington combine, and we've adapted via John Deere 12-row 53 series row crop head. It is not a corn head, which everybody thinks. So it is a row crop head. It's got a rotary knife underneath it with rubber gathering belts. So we are not cutting the beans off when we harvest the wheat, which is kind of an objective of ours. When we first started doing it, we did use a flex head. So we had pusher bars and everything on it to push the beans over with. You know, right now we can get these beans to kind of tuck underneath that head and cut our wheat with no issues. So, the combine has got spacers in it, so we space that combine out to 150-inch centers so we can straddle 5 rows. Then we also made the dished wheels on the back, so everything runs down them 30-inch rows without running over. So, that's supposed to be a video. Is that a video? There's a harvester. As you can see, there's not very, very little green going in there now. So that was one of Dad's ideas to try that row crop head. Like I say, we've done 8 years. We did it with a flex platform. The flex platform worked, but myself, I kind of like cutting that straw shorter and kind of giving them beans more sunlight. It seems like we can get them beans to kind of react and get going faster, the more sunlight they get. So there's underneath that row crop head. like I say, there's a rotary knife, and it's got a gathering belt, so it's not a corn head. So I included these. So this was from 2015. This is right across from our home place there. So that's July 7th. I believe we combined that wheat that day or the next day. So what you can see is pretty green. We start at, it's 20 to 25% moisture when we start combining wheat. We found that the higher moisture wheat we combine and dry, the better quality wheat we have, higher test weight, less vom. We just seem to end up with a higher quality wheat, which also the sooner we can get that wheat off kind of helps them beans, you know. So there's July 18th. Oh, I lied. So it's July 18th we combined, because that picture was taken the day we combined that wheat. That next picture is 11 days after that, exact same spot in the field. So, like I say, the sooner we can get that wheat off and get them beans going. So, our wheat yields, we've really not seen any reduction in wheat yield. If anything, we've seen added wheat yield. You know, we're managing the wheat more. Bean-wise, the beans really depends on our weather in August. You know, I mean, the beans can look great, you know, and they're anywhere from 30 to 60 bushel. So there's some of them double crops in late August, you know. So say we got some neighbors that come by a couple weeks later and it looks like a normal soybean field, you know. But harvesting the soybeans, we're just using a regular flex head. You know, we're the challenge with harvesting them soybeans is the wheat straw. That wheat straw is starting to rot, and it gets to where it takes moisture on really fast. You know, that's the other thing with cutting that wheat short is the less residue we have to run through that combine. You know, it takes some really nice weather to get them beans harvested. So that's, you know, we usually kind of try and do them during the best times of the day and do regular conventional soybeans, you know, late hours and stuff like that. So cover crops, we're in the beginning stages of trying to run more cover crops or introduce them to this system. This year we tried just spreading some on just for, I don't know if you want to say something to do, but we got to start somewhere. Well, I think we're going to end up where we try to plant a cover crop after we harvest that wheat. Right there we spread some, I believe some white clover, I think it was, and some mustard seed. And the only thing that survived was the mustard seed, or actually grew. So we ain't sure whether the slugs or earthworms, or it's hard to say what happened to the clover, but something happened to it, nothing grew. So the mustard, it turned out pretty decent. We got a little bit of stand there, so but I guess something's better than nothing. I think, like I say, down the road, we're going to have to implement something where we can get some more seed to soil contact trying to do these covers, because we're getting so much residue from, like I say, these three crops that whether we ain't sure if we can blow something underneath the combine head and cover it with the residue out the back of the combine, or if we'll, you know, do something with soil engagement. So here's a few modifications we did to the combine. So the Lexion offers in Europe a 25-inch track. So we've got 25 and 30-inch tracks. So when we're doing this wheat, we switch our tracks and put the narrow ones on. And then we also had a set of spacers that made from a local machine shop that we work pretty close with. The original ones in there were 4 inches, and I think we had to make them a total of 13. So, and then also extend the drive shafts. It was a pretty big project. I think it was couple day long. You know, now we can switch tracks back and forth, I think, in an hour. With 2 people, we can switch back and forth. So, but in the back, we went to like an 18-inch or 480 by 34-inch tire on the back with that deep dish rim, so we can be on 150-inch centers. So there's just some random pictures. That planter on the bottom is kind of one of our older planters that we kind of started out with. Right there you can see it's 7 rows, and that's where I was saying we had too many different row widths, where everything now is 12 row. So up there we got a gator and a little sprayer where we have side rest nitrogen with, depending on weather conditions. So, and then some of the other cool photos. Right there, the center picture is right after we planted them beans. You can see how nice that ground is right behind that, right underneath all that trash. So, I guess how I'm going to end here is, that was my son and daughter, and like I say, every day we're trying to build a little better soil than what we had the day before. So we got to have something to leave them. But thank you guys. Any questions?
A lot of great pictures there and a lot of information. Certainly something that's pretty unique. Do we have any questions? Yeah, there's a few. If some of the directors could grab those, that'd be great. Okay, we get a few questions here. I'm going to start off the first one. Does it make a difference which direction the rows are planted, north, south versus east, west?
That is a pretty good question. Personally, I do prefer a north-south row. We have seen that the soybeans do elongate a little bit more on the east and west. I wouldn't say it's detrimental that we have to be north and south, but we do prefer, north and south. So, because it seems the east and west rows kind of shade them beans a little bit more, where if you can keep it north and south, the beans kind of get the even amount of sunlight.
Good. Okay. Was the soil biology in good shape before attempting the twin row strategy? I.e., is the biology needed to handle the residue? So there's maybe 2 parts to that question. What was it? And if I started today and I didn't have good biology, how would I end up?
Well, I think it's more of a whole program. I wouldn't, back when we started this, we were doing full tillage. I wouldn't say our soil was in bad shape, but it's, in the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen it change. The amounts of residue that we have left now, after 1 year is very minimal. It's the worms and, the worms and all the biology in the soil can take this residue and just, make it disappear within months. I don't know if I got a good picture on there, but like in August, we were out there with some people, after we'd combined, just looking at soybeans, and there wasn't hardly a corn stalk left, So, I mean, I think, the more we do, the better it's getting.
Okay. Appreciate that. I had the privilege of having dinner with John, his wife, father and father-in-law last night, and I know this subject came up during dinner. Fungicide applications. Do you spray the wheat and the soybeans, and what timing?
Yeah, we're putting a light fungicide on with our herbicide real early. More a copper-based one is kind of the one I use first. Just because we're going across it with a herbicide and we're trying to get a little copper out there. And then, depending on disease-wise that flag, as far as our rust, we're, making a second one. And then, we're going at flowering for fusarium, that's mandatory.
Good. Any more questions that we have from directors? If not, I appreciate the presentation, John. I know you'll be around here for a bit, so there'll be more questions, I'm sure, over the lunch hour, that people will be after you. With that, we'll thank John for his time.
Thank you.
I've got a few things before we get to lunch. The first thing